Today we have Jill Hornik, third generation owner of Jay's Jewelers in Coral Gables.
She's going to tell us how to take over a business that was founded in the 1940s, how to innovate, but still keeping the foundation, how to build trust with all customers, and as well bring in new customers and new generations into a business. Stay with us and check out her story.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee with Founders. Today we have Jill Hornik with Jay's Jewelers. Jill, thank you very much for being here today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
So Jill is third generation business owner. She has been in the business with her family for a very long time in Coral Gables. She has an amazing story to share today with us. So we were very excited to have her today here and share some tips, recommendations for you guys that are also local founders and that want to learn about local business. So Jill, why don't we start with the story of Jay's Jewelers. Tell us a little bit about how it all started and how you got involved in the business.
So it all started back in 1945. My grandfather, George Hornik, was in the Navy, and at the end of World War II, he got sent to watchmaking school on the GI Bill after being discharged from the Navy. At the time, my grandmother, who was still his fiance, was working in a department store and was selling purses and then sometimes jewelry. When he got back to Miami, he opened a small watchmaking shop / window in downtown Miami and was selling watch batteries for 25 cents and watch straps for $1 and doing odd jobs here and there in watchmaking. And at some point, he and my grandmother got married and she convinced him to open a store. And they decided that downtown Coral Gables would be the perfect place because they liked the community there. And that's when they opened our first store, which was where Giardino's Salads is now on Ponce, right behind Hillstone. Mm-hmm. And they were in that original location for almost 10 years. And then we moved to our current location on Miracle Mile in the 1950s.
So you've been in Coral Gables since the 48. That's a very long time that you've gotten to know the community, the area, how it has grown.
Yeah, it's really spectacular when I go through our old documents and files, and I'm trying to put together a whole history of not only our own business, but the downtown. And lucky enough, about 3 years ago, the Coral Gables Museum did an exposition on the development of Miracle Mile over the decades. And we were lucky enough to submit some photos and some information that was included in that, so you could see the evolution of the years. Obviously, I'm not 76 years old, so I'm not the whole time, but I hear the stories from my father, and he heard stories from his father. And then, of course, the best thing is when our clients come in and they tell me stories about my grandparents.
Wow. That is awesome. That's awesome. And how did you get involved? So how did you decide that you wanted to follow that path and stay in the family business and, follow that career and that journey?
So it's actually kind of a funny story. As a child, of course, I was working there, cleaning the glass and doing the Windex. That's like every child's first job in a jewelry store. Back then, we were making our own bows as well. So I would sit up in the attic and I would spool the bows and make them for the gift wrapping and then gift wrap. And then in college, seasonally, I would come back for winter break or spring break and work on the sales floor, assisting the staff. But I actually was taking a different route. I'm a very analytical, scientific brain. So I went into the healthcare field. My degree was health education and behavior, and I was actually accepted into pharmacy school to get not only my doctorate in pharmacy, but my master's in public health.
Wow.
And I had to kind of make that decision. And my parents said, you know what? We'll pay for you to go to gemology school. you're gonna love it. It's scientific. You sit in front of a microscope all day. And if you don't like it, you can always come back and we'll send you can go back into public health. So I fell for it. And,
Sure, I'll give it a try.
yeah, I did fall in love with gemology. I went out to California after I graduated from college, and I went to the Gemological Institute of America and did their graduate gemologist program, which is all science with tweezers and a microscope and scales and analysis. And not only did I learn so much, but I made probably the closest friends that I had made in a really long time. And 15 years later, we're all really close to this day.
Well, and I'm glad you gave it a chance, because a lot of people have, another career, and they do have a family business and they do want to help. But, sometimes, like you said, you have a passion, you think where you want to go, but you gave it a try. And I'm glad your parents gave you the opportunity. Go to gemology school. Let us know if you like it or not. If not, we'll be here, right? If not, public health will always be another opportunity.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've always been appreciative of, is that my parents have always been supportive. They're encouraging, and I think that's why they've had successful children. I'm the youngest of three, but education in our family is extremely important, and it's always been, we'll always cover you if you want to go back to school for something.
sure.
So no matter what it is, if you haven't found the right thing, we'll do it. But it was very important for me still, even after I decided to go into the jewelry business, not to just come into the family business knowing nothing. So I actually stayed out in California for another 5 years and worked for one of the biggest family-owned jewelry stores out there to kind of get experience and not just be, oh, the daughter is coming in, she really doesn't know anything.
Right.
And I think that is so important, because I think a lot of people make that mistake, and a lot of families, I guess, make that mistake that, he's just my son or my daughter, and automatically they're into the business. And, a lot of them, they're entitled to the title of being the boss and the owner, and just come into a business where thinking, I'm the new boss, without actually knowing how to run the business. And that's where a lot of, I think, family businesses, fail after, 2, 3, maybe 4 generations, because that entitlement that the kids sometimes take before, when taking over the businesses. And that's kind of a, one thing that I wanted to ask you, because of course, this business was founded back in the 1940s. And of course, everything has evolved and everything has changed throughout the generations. There is a lot of things that change, from your grandfather to your dad, and now to you. Things have changed a lot. So how are you doing to, implement and kind of, bring it to the modern generation, that old school business that you guys founded back in 1940s?
So I will be honest and say there is a lot of trial and error, especially when you're in a small business. You don't have the time or the funds to necessarily test out a concept. You just bring it to market. So luckily, before I came into the business, my sister was involved in it, and she had taken our inventory, which was just pen and paper for a long time, and moved it onto a computer system. And then from the computer system evolved into having a website. And then from just having a blank viewing website, we turned it into e-commerce. So there's like baby steps, but obviously in the past, I would say 3 years, that's all moved at warp speed. You can't just run a retail business like you used to, open the door and hope that people are going to walk in. You have to have your own marketing arm, whether that's you, the business owner, or you hire someone who does that. There are constant efforts to attract new clientele. Obviously, there's nothing better than word of mouth. But now Google reviews, Yelp reviews, Facebook reviews, that's all really important. So if anybody has a great experience, we ask that they leave us a review. We find it very important, though, as a business, that is founded on ethics, that we do not give any rewards in exchange for reviews. I've been to restaurants where they go, we'll give you 15% off your bill if you leave us a review. And to me, that's not an ethical practice. It's not a genuine review, because obviously somebody's going to say, oh, even if it was terrible, I'm going to leave the 5-star review.
Sure, I want to get my 50% discount.
Yeah, so there's a fine line to walk there between developing your business but ensuring that people can trust you and have an honest experience.
You mentioned a very important word, the word trust. When we were talking about your business and why we wanted to interview you, and talk to you a little bit of the behind the scenes, we talked about the word trust. In the nature of your business, you do want to have clients that trust you, that trust your process, that trust in your product, and have trust in your services. And they also trust you as a professional gemologist that knows, everything that you're selling them. And I think there are two components that we should touch with you. The first one would be the in-store experience. You want to have that trust in place where basically, if it comes from you, from your husband in the sales floor, or any of your sales reps. I want to talk to you about that. How do you put trust in place, and how do you transfer that to your employees? And then we'll go into the website to see how you transfer that electronically.
Sure. Yeah. I hate that we have to talk about these things, but it's just the nature of the industry. Unfortunately, the industry has gotten a bad rap from those who are not honest and trustworthy. And it's one of those things that you and your family have built this legacy, and it happens every week. Honestly, somebody comes in, I have this repair, it's really important to me. How do I know that what I'm leaving is what I pick up? We wouldn't risk our careers, we wouldn't risk our reputations on something so trivial. But at the same time, you can't take it personally. It's because it's somebody protecting their interests as well. So when we do the repair take-in process, we'll draw a plot of the gemstone or whatever they're leaving, as much detail as possible about the weight, the size, any inclusions. We'll try and show it to the customer. Nowadays, most diamonds have a laser inscription on the girdle if it's a certified stone or a diamond that has a report. So that's the easiest route. But if it doesn't, every gemstone has kind of like a fingerprint that makes it unique. So we try and point that out and then review it again when the customer picks it up. But on that note, I thought it was very important about 5 years ago that we submit our name to be considered as an American Gem Society store, because that organization is held to the highest esteem. That the only companies that are part of this organization are put an emphasis on education and ethical practices. So every year now I have to go through a recertification exam to know what's going on in the industry, what are the practices that we are and are not supposed to follow, to kind of self-regulate, to make sure that there is an acceptable standard for those in the industry.
That is awesome. And it's really important that you guys have to keep up with that. And of course, at the end of the day, one, you're getting more prepared, that's better service for your clients. That's going to make you the expert on the field. That's going to make you trustworthy. And then at the end of the day, we as a clients are coming into you with that trust, okay, I can trust this brand. And because you guys keep evolving, and as we were talking before, things are changing, and some things are changing for the good. Some things are changing for the bad. Like you said, like the industry sometimes goes in a bad route that, a lot of businesses get hurt because other people are they're not doing the right things, and how do you guys do, to transfer that to the e-commerce? I think in the past, since the pandemic, it's been almost a year and a half, and we've been in this, state where we don't know what to do. And a lot of, traditional businesses like yours, they have to shift radically to an online business where you have that family oriented business where it's trustworthy. When I come and talk to you and I see you, I see your parents, I see your family, I see this family business that I want to have that experience, in-store experience. How are you transferring that to this new era of everything online?
I'm glad you asked about that, because a lot of companies miss that, and maybe the website will be one thing and then the in-store experience will be another thing. And as a small business, it's definitely difficult to make sure that's a unified message. But this topic has been brought up on a lot of the industry discussions over the past year. So I always try, if I see something that could potentially help my business, I watch it. I register for so many webinars, I can't even tell you. And if I don't have time to watch it because we're busy at the store, I get the recorded one later. But there's always something to learn. And luckily, we've had the e-commerce business for about 7 years. Obviously, it's grown every year. It's evolved. I've moved from one platform to another. And it's something that we work on literally every day. It's not just the set it and forget it. It's another arm of your business. So you need somebody there to take care of it. But we've made sure that, any of the branding, so our store colors, our fonts, our logos, it matches. And then also, really what our customers like, our clients, probably it's the number one thing, is the personalized service, right? So how do you bring that to an online business? So we put pictures of our staff on the homepage and say everybody's names, everybody's positions. So it humanizes it. People understand, okay, this is a small business, or it's not just like products. Yeah. I have a lot of blogs to educate, like right now, Mother's Day is coming up, so we put a Mother's Day gift guide every month. We'll do the birthstone blog and talk about that. But we want to make sure that people have access to the stuff as well. So in a variety of different locations throughout the website, not only does it have a description of whatever product you may be looking at, you have the option to add to cart. You have an option to schedule an appointment with our staff, whether it be in store or online. And then you also have the option to call or text us at our store number. So you always have the availability to speak with someone about whatever you may be looking at. So you're not just kind of shopping alone, and you may have questions that you need answered before you actually hit that button and put it in the cart.
Yeah, and I think that's very important, because you are in a high-end industry where people want to make sure they're buying the right thing. And when I think of a jewelry advertisement, I think of those big jewelries that is like, okay, 75% off of whatever you're buying. And like the first thing that comes to mind is like, there's no way I'm buying a diamond for starting at $200. And it's like, you start thinking and kind of questioning yourself, like how true that is, or how actually that advertisement is actually telling me the truth of what I'm actually seeing and what I'm getting. So I think that having that personalized website, when I can see what you're doing, I can talk to you if I needed to in different ways. That's a brilliant thing to do it, because that's what's going to bring trust. And that's what we've been talking about,
And if they decide to contact you, go to the store or chat with somebody, they're going to talk to that same person that they saw. We went online and we saw on the homepage, and you were also wearing masks. This idea of safety. We're concerned about you. That tells you a little bit more than, hey, we're putting an online catalog so you can shop. Do your homework. So
right.
that's definitely something really interesting.
Yeah, and I found a lot of people who maybe haven't left their homes for the past year or so are starting to venture out, and they want to know, how are you being cautious? Will I be safe? And we thought, rather than having our normal pictures up there, let's put the pictures up with the masks on, so people know that we are following specific guidelines.
Yeah.
On our Google listing, we have partitions, and that we're sanitizing services. We have like a special clean pen, dirty pen containers. So if you have to always be current and always update. So when somebody goes to your website, it doesn't look like it's from the 90s and nobody's paid attention to it. They want to know that this is a priority and this is something, your experience in the store is going to be the same as online.
Definitely. And like you said, we're showing that we're following the guidelines. We're doing something right now, something current, and we're showing it to you so that you know what we're doing, in case you feel comfortable or not of visiting us. And Mother's Day is coming up, so I'm showing you a gift box. Those are the kind of things that I feel when I go into your website. I know it has been updated and it's up to date, and it's not something that has been there, like you said, since the 40s and hasn't been touched. So that tells me your services are updated too. You're up to date with what I need. You understand my current needs and not my past generation needs. So that brings me to a question, very personal question, Jill, but I know a lot of people are gonna want to know about this. And I really liked your story. That was one of the reasons why we want to interview you, not only because you're a local entrepreneur and that you're very involved with the community, but I also come from a family business, and unfortunately I left my country and I could not help. So the fact that it's also a third generation, so it would be me in your place doing the same thing. So my curiosity would be in the lines of balancing your life, working with your family. So I know there are some things that might be hard, might be difficult. Have you learned any specific, tips or recommendations that you want to share in this video to maintain a healthy relationship with your family members, with your husband, with your sister, parents, etc.?
So first, I just want to congratulate your family, because I know how hard it is just to survive the first couple of years as a business owner, but then very few businesses make it to the second generation, and a much smaller portion of those make it to the third. So that's awesome that your business is still going.
Thank you.
It's funny because when I came into the business, the plan was for my sister and I to take over from my father together. And we went in thinking, we're not going to get along with him, and she and I are going to like hit the ground running, modernize the business. And, there's so many things that happen just in your personal life that affect your business life. And it was kind of like the writing was on the wall that my dad and I were great partners, and she was building her life with her spouse and wanted to have children, and it was better for them to go in a different direction. Funny enough, my sister met her husband while we were in gemology school together. So his family had a third, their business is like over 100 years old. So now they own that jewelry store in Montana together. Wow. And my father and I are together here. But it didn't work out the way that we thought it would. And as much preparation as you have, only time will tell how those dynamics go. And I've heard horror stories about families having a very difficult time. So when I did move back from California, it was seen as a little insensitive, but I asked for documentation. What are the expectations? Kind of like a contract, who's going to own what? How's this going to work? What's the plan? And my father was pretty offended at the time. I'm looking to give you this business, like, let's just.
And here you are trying to set limits. Why?
Yeah. So, after we met with attorneys and business evaluations and all this, it made it so clear there were all these things we had never thought of. And it was a good practice for us to go through that, because it really puts everything in perspective and says, you really have to have a plan. Now, fast forward almost 8 years later, I've been back in South Florida, and he pretty much has let me take the reins for most things in the business. And he's my mentor. Without him, I can't say I would ever have been successful. But what's great is we bounce ideas off each other, and he has been through a lot of it, but he'll often say, if you want to do it, go ahead. And he'll let me fail. And then after I fail, we'll go back and figure out why. And then he'll give advice for maybe how to do it better the next time. But those are learning moments, and you have to not take everything personal that is said amongst each other. But definitely a huge no-no is arguing in front of the staff. You want to make sure that you have a unified direction that everybody's going in. And we're a really small business. We only have 5 employees currently, hoping for a 6th person to come on board for the holidays this year and help with marketing and off the sales for inventory management. But yeah, it's been a lot more fun working with my father than I ever thought it would be. And I owe so much to his expertise and knowledge for being in the industry for 50 years now.
Wow, and that's so interesting because a lot of times what you see is that you come in as a 3rd generation, and probably like he came in 50 years ago with a different mentality, a different point of views, of course, a different generation, and you want to you're coming into a new business thinking, okay, we should innovate this way. And he's thinking, well, no, I mean, we've done it for 25 years this way, we're not changing it. And sometimes, I mean, it's awesome that you guys, like you coming in and setting the grounds and saying, okay, how can we improve this? And, making it where you guys work as a team, kind of giving you his perspective and understanding where you're coming from, and you understanding, okay, he's got the experience and maybe we can work together and make it better. I think that's awesome that you guys at the beginning, or you at the beginning, you were smart enough to, okay, how are we going to make this work, and not just coming in and trying to do things and then he'll be like, oh no, rejecting your ideas, which is awesome. And I think that's why your business has been evolving and being able to actually improve in everything and keeping up with technology and social media now and the websites and e-commerce and everything. So that is awesome.
Yeah, but then also I want to add really quick, that's a great point that he's touching, but you also came into the business wanting to make some improvements, of course, innovating in some ways, but you do want to keep the essence of who you guys are and your legacy.
Exactly.
Is there something you do? Has something happened where you see this is the new direction that we definitely want to follow? This is something that we definitely want to pay attention to, but will it affect the essence of who we are? How do you balance that? I find it so interesting and super challenging.
So I'm glad you said something, because his comments just inspired me to want to say something about this, and then you asked to elaborate on it. It's very important to innovate and evolve, but not change, right? You don't want to lose your current clientele who appreciate you for what you are now. Yeah. But at the same time, Gen Z and millennials shop differently than the baby boomers. So how do you attract and retain, attract new and retain old? So the in-store experience can't change, but you can add things that will attract the others. It's a fine balance. It really is, because at the end of the day, our business and why I feel we're successful is we take the time to give each client personalized attention, whatever that may mean. And that's the difficulty of working the online route. But our products evolve over the years. We started as watches, and then when my father came into the business, he was a loose colored stone dealer, so he brought in a lot of the gemstones. Then it became silver jewelry, and then it became gold and platinum jewelry, and now we have the whole full service experience. And we're actually moving away from things like silver, so that we can have a finer collection to offer. But at the same time, you don't want to price anybody out, because they want to start with a piece at your store, and then as from just dating to engagement to wedding bands to babies, anniversaries, it's they kind of work their way up, and it's that connection you have with the same client. But it's definitely tricky, and we're actually excited because we're in development for our own app, which should come out in the next 2 months.
That is
That's awesome.
great.
And we're going to be testing with live selling. So on social media. So our customers may love it. They may hate it. I see it as a huge potential for finding new people. But you know, it's always scary. You try it out, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I don't see why it wouldn't, you know, especially now with clients that don't want to venture out of the house, but still want to have that back and forth conversation. It may be great, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we can't lose our foundation, and make sure people have that same experience, whether they're on a screen or they're standing in front of us.
Definitely. And I think the way you said it, keeping my foundation and adding other things, other platforms, is exactly what you need to do to kind of attract new people, but still still keep the old customers. That is great. And I wish you the best of luck with that app, and hopefully it works. But like you said, it's another experience. We'll see if people like it, because there are a lot of different ways to shop. Some people may feel comfortable doing that, some people may not. So maybe you're attracting a new target, a new market that you weren't talking to before. And
Exactly.
Jill, this has been a great conversation. We're extremely thankful for this. To sum things up, do you want to tell us, you know, maybe 2-3 recommendations that you want to share with local entrepreneurs, if it's a family business or a new business, existing business, that has helped you become more successful, work with your employees, understand your audience a little bit better? Do you want to tell us 2 or 3 recommendations to keep in mind also for us?
Sure. Yeah. As an entrepreneur, the most difficult thing is juggling all the responsibilities. Right now, I serve as our business development, our marketing, our HR, our inventory manager, our buyer, and a salesperson. So it's like you have to live by your priorities, and there's nothing more important than the customer standing in front of you. It took me a long time to realize this. I'll be like drowning under 100 things on my to-do list, and I'll be trying to finish something, and they'll need me, you know, out on the sales floor, and I'm like, hold on, and then you have to go, no, put it aside, go help the customer. They're here, they need something, and they're ready. You know, you do all this work to get that person in the door, so make sure that they have a good experience once they're here. In terms of productivity, efficiency is like my motto. So I live by to-do lists, which I know is maybe not the best for mental health, always knowing there's something coming. But I love sticky notes, digital sticky notes, not the real ones, because those fall off and then you lose them. But digital sticky notes on your Windows desktop. Even on my phone, it's an app, so I have like my to-do list every day, and then you can kind of put things in the order. I always say knock out the hardest thing first thing in the morning, and then you can do all the little things here and there throughout the day when maybe you're not going to get interrupted as well. You will get interrupted more, but you're in the zone for that one thing right in the morning after you've had your big cup of coffee and your brain is fresh. So those are 2 of the biggest tips. And I would say get out there and network. You 2 are doing the perfect thing, you know, while your business is preparing to open. Get out and meet the people in your community, because those are the people who are going to become your clients or refer you clients. And if they know that what your intentions are, and they know you on a personal level, you're going to get the business rather than the random place down the street that just opened. So I would say, you know, join your chamber, join your local networking groups, build a community, you know, and that's exactly what you're doing with these interviews, which is fantastic. So build your community, because those are going to be the people that serve as your foundation to start growing.
Sure.
Jill, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. This has been an amazing time with you, and, you know, learning about your business and hopefully this is going to inspire some other people to go ahead and take the risk and go ahead and get it. And thank you so much. Best of luck with the app and everything that you guys are doing. And, you know, we'll be in the same community supporting each other. And that's what, you know, this is all about. And that's why we love to do these things.
I really appreciate the invitation. You know, Barbara, Orlando, you guys are on the right path. And, you know, as a community, if we all support each other, everyone ends up successful. So I wish you the best of luck. And if there's ever anything that could help you or anybody watching, feel free to reach out to me. I'm definitely here as someone who's been through a lot of it and willing to lend some opinions.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. This is Jill. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll see you next week in the next Coffee with Founders.